Well, hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of our mixed gold refine. What we're going to be doing right now is we're going to get our material prepped and set up so we can get it outside and get it started and get us some gold. What I'm actually doing here, I mean, you guys have seen me do this before. I like removing all the junk and trash and paper and anything else that's, on my material before I do it. I don't want anything in there that doesn't have to be in there. I just don't see any point in adding junk that doesn't need to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean these things up. I'm going to get rid of these pads, this paper stuff, get these MLCCs off. For the most part with the pentiums, I just have to get the paper off of them, and we'll just chip this out like we normally do. Right here, you have the option, you can heat them and pull them off, whatever you want to do. It's just a matter of how you want to do it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get these boogers cleaned up. We'll get our processors ready, break up. I'm actually going to try, I think, and keep a couple of these intact. I'm not going to hammer them. I just want to. They're great. They actually make a good gold testing. Where you scrape your gold like a plate or stone to test the gold on. So the AMDs are good because they're nice and flat. They don't have any divots or anything in them. So once everything's off of it, it makes for a nice little testing stone. So that's another thing you can do. But anyway, let me go ahead and get this going, and we'll get back at you in just a bit. Okay guys, there's our AMDs. We've got them, all that crap is off of them. It's not going to have, we don't have to deal with filtering it or doing any other contaminations to our fluids. That's why I like doing it that way. The pentiums don't have any of that on them. They just have these, some of them have a sticker on them, so I'm going to go ahead and go through those and remove those. And then we're going to be ready to smack these up and get them in a beaker. I was going to save a couple of these, but I remembered from the last time from that Pentium Pro one, I actually got 4 or 5 nice sheets of this ceramic off of those Pentium Pros. So, whoops, I don't need to, so we're just going to go ahead and get these guys cleaned up, and we're going to get them smacked up and get them in a beaker. So we'll be right back at you. Alrighty guys, that does it. There is our processors. I'm going to run out back to the lab and grab a beaker, and we'll get these smacked up and get them in there, and they're ready to go. And then I got to also dig out our other little ceramic chips and see if those need to be broken. So we'll be back at you in just a sec. Okay guys, I got us a beaker, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do these pentiums. The way I do these, I know I've done it before, you've probably seen me do it before, but I kind of tap them around, this part that covers the die, and I break that. I try to break it up as little as I can, because you really don't want to knock the wires loose, but sometimes you can't help that. like this one's being a bear. Now normally I keep this stuff separate if they're mine, and I just process it at a later time, but being that these are not mine, we are going to put this right in the beaker with it, you know, with the hammered up processor. See, because there's little bond wires in here, and they will on occasion break off into this stuff, and that's, like I said, that's why I keep them. Get that stuff off your hands, but you got to break this open in order to get those bond wires to dissolve good. So it's into my hand. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Get these guys into the beaker so you expose all that stuff that way. And you do break a few off. I mean, so that's why we're going to put this stuff in there too. But like I said, normally I don't do that. So anyhow, we'll get back at you in just a bit. Okay guys, we got our processors all smacked up, and I grabbed these little fellas out. These were those extra little ceramic chips that William sent along, and I'm looking at them, and like right here it looks like there's some gold plating that maybe runs in between here. I can see on some of them that there is, looks like what appears to be some bond wires, or where bond wires would attach. These little guys have gold plating here, but then also like down inside here. Now I don't know if any of this plating goes through the chip, and I mean I was going to hammer them up anyway, but I think what I'm going to do, I've actually got my little cast iron mortar. So what I think I'm going to actually do is I think I'm going to put a couple of these in this mortar at a time. I use this when I'm grinding up, you know, ash or whatever, small batches of chips that I've burned, because it works really well. I mean, I wish I would have bought the big one when I did it years ago. I may still get one day a little bit bigger, because it really does work well for that. But what I think I'm going to do with these is I'm actually just going to do this number, because I really don't know what all is inside those, and I want it to get broken up really good. Let's see if we can see if there's anything else down inside them. I do see the bond wires. I see a little bit of plating that might be a little harder to get to, so I think we're just going to do that. I think we'll just take them and toss them in this thing and smack them up in here, and then we're going to sweep. Like I said, normally this from the Pentiums, if they're mine, I keep it, but this is not mine, and there is going to be a little bits of gold plating and bond wire in here. So I'm actually going to put this into here as well. So let me go ahead and get these smacked up, and then we'll get this stuff out there and get it ready to go. So we'll be back at you in just a bit. Alright guys, we got our other stuff, these other chips smacked up. There is actually, looks like quite a bit of gold on those. I mean, if you were to have a kilogram of those, you'd probably do really well. I also did want to show you that on the inside, see, there was some that had actual double plating inside and out. So it did pay to smack them up, because otherwise that one side would have stayed covered. So the next thing I'm going to do, we've got our processors and our ceramics ready to go. I haven't done this before this way, but I know every time I do these things, I say I'm going to do it. Every time I do the ram fingers, because you get, you know, there's that little tiny end of ram or piece of ram, you get these little guys right here. come off that one end of the ram. It's just a little short piece. And every time I'm out there cleaning these up, I'm saying next time I'm going to separate these little short tiny pieces out and do them in a little separate tub, because it's really kind of a pain and it slows you down when you could just be grabbing these size guys and, you know, rinsing them and taking your brush and brushing them off and make sure you get everything off of them. You got to dig around in there to get these little guys out. So real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and separate these out, and we'll do them in a separate little tub. So let me get that done. I'm not going to bore you and sit here and make you watch me do that, but I'm going to go ahead and separate those out. Then we're going to get outside and start getting this stuff going. So we will be back at you as soon as we get outside. Alrighty, everybody, we are outside, which is where I know you all wanted to be. In fact, it's where I want to be. It's a beautiful day out here today. I did go ahead and get our long ones separated from the short ones, and I know that that's, you know, that's my choosing. It's not something that has to be done. Somebody's going to say, oh, you're wasting your time. Let me tell you something. The most tedious part of doing ram for me is at the end. And that is when you're having to take each piece, because I get all the gold. You see these little holes in here? You take the back of one of these gum brushes like this and you knock out all that gold. So I handle each one of these. Might be the slow way, whatever. Might not be worth the time, whatever. It's worth my time. That's how I do it. So in the long run, this is the hard part for me. Picking these little tiny pieces or ends of ram out of this longer stuff. So if I can take a few minutes before I start and get all that little stuff out, it's worth it to me. Like I said, it may not be worth it to others, or they may think it's a waste of time, but I think this is how I'm going to do it from now on. Because these little boogers, I get tired of chasing them around amongst all this big stuff. So, whoops, let's get this back in there. We're going to be doing a little bit of recycling here today because we can, and it's not going to hurt anything. This was actually our HCl that I've been using in the last refine to boil off the silver powder. So the only thing that's going to be in here probably is a little bit of copper, maybe a few other things, but I can actually use this to get my AP started. There's no point in just refining it out right now because you can see it's a very light color. So we can add this to this. We'll add a little bit of fresh hydrochloric acid to it, and then we're going to actually still even add a little bit of AP, old AP to it, or copper 2, to get it started good. But use this stuff up until it's done. I mean, when it's done, then worry about, you know, getting your acid back out of it or recycling your acids. So you can see we got that. I've got some pure AP down here that I keep just for this stuff. So we're going to put a little bit of that in there. We're going to put a little bit in this one. We're going to mix those up, and then we're going to get these out in the sun. So I'll get back at you in just a second. Okay guys, you can see we've got our fingers in acid out on the table. These are plexis from LCDs, TVs. They are great to use for covers if you want sun to get into your stuff and no water, because they cover everything really well. As you can hear, 6 months worth of beep 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 going on out back. It never friggin' stops. Christmas Eve I was out here and they were beep 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 beep. But oh well, that's part of progress, I guess. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and get these guys going. I'm actually going to get them in Aqua Regia, and we're going to just let them sit overnight, nice and slow. So let me get this camera back on the stand. We're going to go ahead and get some HCl in here and start adding nitric to it till we get a reaction, and we're going to let that stuff go overnight. So I'll be back at you in just a second. Okay guys, I just added our hydrochloric acid to that. You can see there's something in there that is reacting with it a little bit. Could be some tin or something else. I'm going to pour us out. I'm guesstimating because of the volume of the air, we probably have 250 milliliters of acid in there, even though it says it's up to 400. So I'm going to put about 50 mils of nitric in this little beaker, and we're going to gradually add that to it. And I am actually going to let the sun do the work. We got a nice bright sunshiny day, so I'm just going to set that out in the sun. Get us about 50 milliliters of nitric acid in this plastic beaker. Once again, I absolutely despise these bottles. I don't know, they make syrup bottles, wine bottles, whiskey bottles, all that stuff with no spill. But they don't make something that's as bad as this stuff in a spill-proof bottle. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and move this out on the table. And we'll start adding some stuff to it. And we're going to let it rock and roll. So we'll be back at you in just a sec. Okay guys. We're going to add a little bit of nitric acid to this. Then we are going to, in fact, let me get a cover because we're going to cover it up after that. And we're just going to come out periodically and add some nitric to this. And let the sunshine take over. I'm going to watch it for a minute or two. Make sure that we don't have any problems or boil overs or along that effect. We're already getting some color, so we know that the nitric is going to work. Go ahead and add a little bit more. And we're going to just let this rock and roll. So, I'm going to give it 15 or 20 minutes and see how it goes, and then come back out and check on it. So we'll be back at you then. Okay everybody, as you can see, we have a really nice reaction going in there. It was actually about 45 minutes before I could get back out here. I was going to come out in 15 minutes, but you know how that goes. So this is basically going to go overnight. We don't have any signs of a boil over or anything like that. And it's going to be a dirty drop, so I'm going to have to, drop it again anyway, which I normally do anyhow. So that's why I like doing my processors just directly in Aqua Regia. I'm going to go ahead and call this video because I actually have to go run and do some chores. And there's not really anything else we can do right now other than wait. We've got our fingers over here, and that's going to take a couple, 3 days. This isn't going to be finished till overnight. I'm actually not going to start burning the chips right now. It's too late in the afternoon. So I'll leave you with this. We got our Aqua Regia going for our processors. We should be able to filter that off and drop that tomorrow. Our fingers are probably going to take a couple days. And anyway, while we're filtering this off and whatever, we can actually start burning off our BGA chips and getting them ready to process. So we will see you guys in the next video.
hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.